Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Joshua. GG Allin, bite it, you scum. I imagine you've heard of GG Allin, considering he was pretty notorious. He's the embodiment of that punk rock FU attitude. I've seen plenty of videos talking about him, but none reacting to the music. Well, let's fix that. I have heard of GG Allin in passing, but I don't think I've ever heard any of the music. So, let's dive into this, see what's going on. GG Allin's Bite It, you scum.
Take a fit. Bite it, you scum. Bite it, you scum. Bite it, you scum. Here I come. Bite it, you scum. Where you want me?
Very compressed, a rugged do-it-yourself style production. So our verse and our chorus actually have the exact same line. Man. So finish the solo on that note. All right. Yeah, that's it's a very straightforward track. Lyrically, it seems, production-wise, musically, it's just it is exactly what it says on the can. There are no surprises inside of this one. And for better, right? You know? This is definitely a genre of music that you kind of just want to be plainly understood. No chance for misunderstanding or for someone to put words in your mouth. There's nothing in here that is vague enough that could be taken in a second way. It is it is what it is. And for punk, especially 85. Yeah. Yeah, this is exactly what you want out of punk. So, let's dig into this and see what this is. We have three chords. Da dun dun 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 da. Yeah, so three chords. We sit on one for a while, and then for half of that length, we change to another one. We change to a leading. We come back. That is what our underlying guitar does for this entire track. There might be a bass. I don't know. The compression was really hurting it. The low fidelity was hurting it in that realm as well. There is, I think, a second guitar that comes into play on the first two choruses that helps widen out the chord progression because it does feel a little bigger, but the notes themselves don't change. The verse and the chorus and the guitar solo, the bridge, everything uses this one guitar loop, and it's 2 bars by my count. The drums do not change. We primarily accent downbeats with alternating bass and snare hits, and sometimes instead of a quarter note on the bass, you'll get 2/8. So like boom ka, boom boom ka, boom ka. Not that specific pattern, but I didn't really pick up the pattern on when we got the eighth notes instead of the quarter. But there was a little bit of rhythmic change in there. Cymbals were rigid, just constantly hitting the same distance between. No variety at all in the guitar or drumming work. It is just supposed to sound aggressive and driving, and it does both of those. Now, the aggressiveness is also put on extra display by two other parts of the track that give it its character. One is going to be the production, which is just that do it yourself. I'm not a producer and I don't care. It sounds good to my ears. Low fidelity stuff that's going on here. It just sounds hyper compressed. But the other half is going to be the vocals, which have a bit of that gritty spoken word. Not really looking for pitches, also kind of not really looking for perfect rhythms, just whatever feels right for the vocalist to do rhythmically at that time. It might be a little bit before, it might be a little bit behind, it doesn't matter. It's just part of that DIY punk ethos of I like it, so I'm going to do it, right? And I don't care what you think about it. And all of this comes together to form this characteristic, these qualities for the track. The last part that I want to talk about, the short analysis here, is the guitar solos. Primarily the first one, but also it applies to the one at our outro as well. It follows with the ethos, right? I don't care what you think. It sounds good to my ears. I'm going to be loud and abrasive and noisy, and you have to listen to it. The guitar solo is just not consonant in any aspect. I don't think the instrument is tuned. I think even if a note was played that was in the key, it would still sound dissonant. There is this is going to be one of the phrases of all time. There is no regard for music theory here at all. It's a weird thing to say, but it's true. Even when we talk about metal guitarists, rock guitarists who have never taken theory courses in their life, they just play what sounds good to them. There is still a lot of the general concepts of how to build melody imprinted on these people based on what they've listened, what they're emulating, what their tastes are like, and where their compositional DNA is comes from. You know, what they grew up on. Um, what notes sound good to finish a melody on? What notes sound good to hold on to a melody? You know, if you're playing a lot of fast notes and you decide to hold a note, which one is going to be the one you want to land on? In theory, we're going to call them keynotes, the notes that most strongly represent the chord you're working within. Um, but they don't know that. They just know that when they finish shredding, they land on this one. It just sounds better than if they landed a half step up or a whole step down. Um, and that's what I mean when I say that this has no regard for theory. Whether it's conscious or subconscious, there is just nothing here that builds a good melody in any capacity. We have tonality things all over the place. We have accidentals all over the place. Our key notes, the ones that we really land on and hold, which we actually hold a lot of notes in here, there's not really great flow to the melody. I wouldn't say that it's narratively engaging. Um, but when we do land on a note for longer than other ones, especially that final note, they are some of the weakest notes for the perceived key that we're in. Because I say perceived because with the tonality thing, there's actually a lot of microtonality, and the solo doesn't really feel like it belongs to any Western key. It sounds completely foreign to my ears, much like microtonality does, just because I don't have a lot of experience with it. Um, but yeah, it's just again not a good solo, not a good melody for music, for contemporary standard ideas of melodic composition. And like I said at the end of it, I was like, what a note to end it on. And it's just because it was a weak note for the melody and also just ever so slightly out of tune. Um, it's just we ended with a lot of tension. But that's the point of it, right? I could say that it did all these things wrong, and I have used quotations this whole time. I really, really hope I don't see comments in here about how I'm trashing a song because I don't understand it. The quotations were in there to showcase that I'm using these words a bit ironically, a little tongue in cheek. I obviously know that the melody was not written poorly or incorrectly. It did exactly what they wanted it to do, which is to fall in line with this ethos of I don't care what you think. I like the way this sounds. I'm going to play it. It follows in line with the production, it follows in line with the vocal work, it follows in line with the hyper repetition and rigidity of everything else. This is this is just very much punk music. I'd say even more so distilled than a lot of the punk music I tend to think of, which might be a little closer to the pop punk area. They're still punky, but and angsty, and usually lyrically angsty, but they're more palatable. This is definitely on the less palatable side of punk. I know this exists. I don't have a lot of experience with this area of punk though, primarily because I'm not a real big fan of it sonically. I understand what they're going for. I think as an artistic outlet, it is a extremely valid musical style. But the simplicity and the it seems hyper attention to moving away from theory, even if it's um, uh, what is that word I use? A subconscious understanding of theory. Just it doesn't gel well with my musical tastes. But regardless, like I said, it sets out to do a thing, and it does that thing to the utmost precision. I'm gonna hit the lyrics real quick. We'll wrap this up. Yeah, and as expected, this is very blunt, very in your face, very crass. Uh, and I had mentioned I picked up a lot of the words listening to it. There's no room for interpretation here. everything means pretty much just one thing, the surface level reading of it. There's no vague element. There's no way to inject thoughts into or inject words into the vocals here. Um, very straightforward, very simple language. They don't like somebody, and their big thing is I don't care. If it comes to violence, it comes to violence, but you're welcome to just leave. I don't care about you, you don't care about me, and that can go two ways, and I leave it up to you. It says at one point, you want me to contribute, all I got for you is blood. And I read that as, this can come to violence if you want it to. That's all I want out of you. Um, but I get the vibe that's not necessarily. I mean, it is. I kind of get the vibe he'd love to get into a fight with this dude, but it's not necessarily the core motivation. It just wants to get away from him, right? I don't care for you. You don't care for me. We could turn this into violence, but if you want, you can just leave. It's up to you. Ball's in your court, bro. And that's what it's about. And so like that aggression comes through in the music, that I don't care attitude comes through in the music. It's just hyper focused on a specific vibe and nails it 100%. So, short reaction, but those are my thoughts on GG Allin's Bite It, You Scum. What do you think? Did you enjoy it? Anything that stood out to you? Anything you'd like to expand on what I said? Correct me on? Let me know your own perspective on it. Put that stuff down in the comments. Above that is a description box. In there is a link for Linktree. Takes you to this menu right here. You can find my music, a way to the Discord server, ways to support the channel, and so much more. Go ahead and explore that, see what's there. A lot of cool stuff. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll continue on with this week's theme of album openers, looking at the first track off of an album, and more special selections. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic, almost, just a few more words. Let's get through this. Have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.